Hi everyone! Welcome to another day of learning opportunity. This is your programming teacher, Teacher Melody Safing. And today, we will be discussing another topic in Visual Basic Programming. For today's lesson, we will be discussing the decision-making structures. We will be focusing on the three selection structures: if structure, IFTHENELSE structure, and the IFELSE structure. But before that, let us look into the objectives of today's lesson. Objectives: the learners must be able to identify the use of simple if-else, and if-else-if control structures. Create simple applications that exhibits appropriate decision control structure and recognize the importance of decision control structure in an application. Let us begin our lesson by playing a simple game called This or That. I will be asking you questions and you have to choose your answer from the words that I will be showing on the screen. You may use a piece of paper to write down your answers. Are you ready? So these are the questions. Sunrise or sunset? Beach or mountains? Movie or series? Coffee or milk? I hope that you have written all your answers on a sheet of paper. Okay, so how was the activity? Was it hard choosing and deciding? Were you able to decide quickly? Okay, great. Do you know, in programming, there is also a structure that lets us decide, and that is what we call the decision-making structures. And for today's lesson, we will be focusing on the three selection structures. Decision-making structures require that the programmer specify one or more conditions to be evaluated or tested by the program, along with the statement or statements to be executed if the condition is determined to be true, and optionally, other statements to be executed if the condition is determined to be false. This is the general form of a typical decision-making structure found in most of the programming languages. In a decision-making structure, the if statement is probably the most common control flow element. However, the if statement doesn't loop through any statements. It evaluates the statement within its logic condition. If the result is true, then the statements within the if structure are executed. If the result is false, then the next statements outside of the if statement are executed. The basic structure of an if statement is this: if, condition, then code execution here, and if. This is the basic if statement without any additional else condition. We will discuss else later on. The if condition is evaluated, and if the condition evaluates to true, then the code within the statement executes. The end if statement tells the compiler where the if statement ends. To help you understand our lesson more, let's look at a real-world example. The problem is that you have to create a program that will determine if the user has passed the examination after inputting his or her score. The passing score should be 75 and above. The program should look like this. In this program, the user needs to enter his or her test score. The program will determine if the user has passed the examination by displaying "Congratulations, you have passed the examination." The passing score should be 75 and above. To create the program, we will need to follow the table shown on your screen. This will determine the name of the controls and their properties. You can pause the video while creating your own interface and just continue watching it after doing so. Now that you are already done with the interface, we will now be discussing its code. First, on the form design window, you must double-click the Verify button. Next, on the code editor window, we can now start coding. Let us start by declaring the needed variables. Declare score as integer. This will hold the value of the test scores that will be inputted by the user. Write team score as integer. Store the value inputted by the user on the text box by typing score is equal to text score.text. Remember, text score was the name we used for text box 1. After that, we can now write the if structure. If score is greater than equal 75, then LBL description.text is equal to "Congratulations, you have passed the examination," followed by the end if. The if statement then evaluates if the value entered on the text box is more than equal to 75. This means that if the score is 75 and above, the condition is true. The if statement's code then executes, which means that in LBL description, the words "Congratulations, you have passed the examination" will be displayed. However, if the condition is not true, meaning the score entered is 74 below, nothing will be displayed on the label. After that, you can also add a code in clearing the data in our program. After that, we can now debug the program to see if there are any errors or if the program is working accurately. The output of the program should be like this. If we enter 75, it displays "Congratulations, you have passed the examination." But if we enter 74, nothing happens on the program. This is because 74 is lower than 75 and that we have not met the condition required. Were you able to follow the instructions and the explanation of the program? If you have any questions or clarifications, you can type it below the comment section, and we will be happy to address those questions in our next video. To help you understand the concept deeply, you will be doing a simple program. A coffee shop named Melody's Cafe sells the best coffee in town. You are hired as a programmer for the said coffee shop. You are tasked to create a program that will determine if the customer is a senior citizen and is entitled to have a discount. In this activity, you can use the following information on the table as a guide in naming your controls properties. You can also pause the video and do the activity yourself. Check your interface and check if the program is running accurately. The output should be like this. Were you able to create the program yourself? Congratulations if yes. If not, try practicing more. Now that we are already done with the if statement, we will be continuing the lesson on the selection structure. Thank you very much for watching. Again, this is your programming teacher, Teacher Melody. Bye-bye.
Hi everyone, Teacher John here. We will now continue the discussion and selection structure. Another structure used in Visual Basic is the if-then-else structure. What is an if-then-else structure? If we are going to compare an if-then-else structure to a simple if structure, the if-then-else structure has an optional else statement. The else statement will be executed whenever the if condition fails to execute. Here is the syntax used for an if-then-else structure. To start the if-then-else structure, the if statement must be declared first. After declaring the if statement, the test expression must be declared. What is a test expression? The test expression is a collection of two or more terms that perform a mathematical or a logical operation. The terms are usually either variables or functions that are combined with an operator to evaluate a string or numeric result. Here is an example of a test expression. Score greater than 10, which will determine if the score is greater than 10. After the test expression, the then statement must be declared. After declaring the then statement, you must include a block of code to execute if the condition is true. The else statement must also be declared, and you should also include a block of code to execute if the test condition returns false. To indicate the end of an if-then-else statement, an if must be declared. To better understand the syntax, let us take a quick look on this sample program. This program lets the user input a score and determine if it is passed or failed. The maximum score is 100 and the user must get 60% of the total score to pass the test. In creating the user interface or UI of your project, follow the controls properties table shown in the screen. It is recommended that you pause the video and continue watching it after creating the interface of your Visual Basic project. In the Form Design window, double-click on the control where you want to put the code. The Code Editor window will appear, and that's where you will start coding. Let's start by declaring the needed variable that will hold the value inputted by the user. Store the value inputted by the user in the score variable. Hence, we write score equals text input.text. text input is the name of the text box, and text is the property which holds the value inputted by the user. We will now start coding the if-then-else structure. Since the passing score is 60% of 100, we will have the test expression score is greater than or equal to 60. When the test expression returns true, we store the string "you passed the test" to the text property of label result. And if the test expression returns false, we declare the else statement and put the string "you failed the test" to the text property of label result. We close or we end the if statement by using end if. Let's run the program once more and test if the code is working. If we input 60, it displays we passed the test. And if we input 59, it will display we failed the test since 59 is lower than 60. Is the explanation clear? If not, and you still have questions, you can comment your questions down below, and we'll attend to your questions as soon as we receive it. Let us now test what you've learned by doing the sample program shown in the screen. The title of the program is Allowed or Not Allowed. You must create a program that lets the user input his age and determine if the user is allowed to go out during strict quarantine restrictions. Use the controls properties table in creating the interface of your project. Once again, it is recommended that you pause the video and continue watching it after you are done creating the interface and coding the program. How was the activity? Was it hard or easy to do? To summarize what we have discussed, an if-then-else statement is a selection structure that has an additional else statement. The block of codes under the else statement only executes whenever the test expression in the if statement returns false. I hope you have enjoyed and learned something new today. To learn more about selection structure, continue watching the video and Teacher Micah will introduce you to another selection structure. Again, this is Teacher John, your Visual Basic Programming teacher.
Hi, this is Teacher Micah, and let's now continue the discussion. For the last part of the discussion, we will talk about the else-if statement. In the previous example, we talked about if-then-else, where you can only test one condition, and if the condition is false, the else statement is executed. If you want to test more than one condition, you need to make use of the else-if statement. The else-if Boolean expression is evaluated when the if or the first Boolean expression is false. You can have multiple else-if statements and have as much condition as the program requires. You can also add an else statement at the end if all the else-if Boolean expression is not met. Here is the syntax of the if-else-if-else statement. To better understand the statement, let's take a look at this example program. This program allows the user to input 7 grades in specific subjects and compute its average. The program also identifies the designation based on the computed average. In creating the sample program, add the necessary controls from the toolbox and modify the properties as indicated in the table. Again, it is recommended that you pause the video and continue watching it after adding the controls and modifying its properties. Next, in the Form Design window, double-click the Average button and you can start coding the program in the Code Editor window. Let's start by declaring the variables. First, declare the variable as integer to hold the computed average. Write dim ave as integer. Inside the button-click event, create the equation to compute the average. Add all the grades inputted in the text boxes and divide it by 7. And store it in the variable ave. This is how your code will look like. Display the average grade by assigning it to the dbAve label. Next step is to formulate your conditions or Boolean expressions based on their grades. Please refer to the given table. Using the table as the reference, we can say that those students whose average is greater than or equal to 98 are with highest honors. Therefore, our first condition will be if ave is greater than or equal to 98, then if the first condition is met, it will display with highest honors. If the condition is not met, the program must determine where the average will fall at the rest of the 2 designations. This type of program is an example of multiple selection. Here's where the else if will be very useful. In order to know the designation, we must add another condition using the else if statement. Again, following the table, the second condition will be else if ave is greater than or equal to 95. Since there is still another designation, we can add the last condition using else if. It will be else if ave is greater than or equal to 90. After which, you can still add an else statement if all 3 conditions happen to be false. Here's the final output of the program that we created. Again, this is Teacher Micah. Thank you for watching.